Welcome to the fucking stream. This is your host speaking. Smeth amphetamine coming at you. We're gonna be talking to Connor, a buddy of mine. There's that link. Let me get that link out. Let me get that fucking link out. Connor is actually responsible for this music. It's him make, that's his production. That's who we're about to be talking to in a few minutes. This shit is looking crazy. I'm actually kind of concerned about the cheapo laser show. I don't think it's good for your eyeballs, but you gotta make sacrifices for your artwork. No, this is not Macedon, this is Connor, and I'm about to be talking to the musician responsible for this in just a moment. Imagine a mom walking into this room. A mom could only be so fucking lucky. No. Only the luckiest mom on earth. Yeah. Alright, I'm gonna message Connor. I'm gonna tell him. Yeah, Connor's a great musician. He's great at a lot of things. Someone in my chat just... Oh, Jesus Christ. No, I'm not gonna... Alright. It's fine. It's time. Let's go, baby.
What's good, man?
Yo, what's up?
Hey, you got the same stars and blue in the background.
Oh
that I
shit!
have.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That thing is the same one.
Yeah, I got this like super cheap. Actually, I got it for like $6 the other day. I saw it and I was like, that sounds like great. But I'm like concerned. Like, I'm concerned for my eyeballs because like it's going across my whole room. And walk past it anyway. Nobody cares.
I
about
walk by
that.
mine and it goes right in my face.
Yep. The box like says don't look at it. Yeah. Okay. Let's get this shit up here. Yeah. So this is Connor. I played your one of your songs from Stranglehold as intro music.
Nice.
So I've gathered you today here, me and Connor. I've summoned you. I've gathered you to summon. I've got you here today because I want you to tell me if I am jumping off a cliff and if I'm going crazy.
Okay, why do you feel like you're going crazy?
What? Okay, well, I don't actually think I'm going crazy. It's just that everybody keeps telling me that I am. And you are the guy to talk to about this particular topic, in my opinion. So, how about I introduce you, and then I'm gonna introduce you, okay?
All right,
Okay.
go for it.
So I met Connor because he was streaming. He had like 5 viewers, and he was actually like, his stream was like pretty good, and he put like a lot of effort and creativity into it.
I believe it was Pajama Sam, if I'm not. I
Oh
was playing
yeah,
Pajama Sam.
he was playing Pajama Sam, and I specifically had followed Pajama Sam to see if anybody played it. And I saw like a bunch of like shitheads play it and complain about it the whole time, but he played it and he was like, I don't know, he was Pajama jamming, and he like eventually, like, he's like streams once in a while, but like he rarely streams anymore. He like made some friends through streaming and then stopped. He checked out. It's like, you got what you wanted out of it. Like, you do stream sometimes, but it's like, that's your goal. He was never trying to like make some money or whatever.
I was never a streamer. In
Yeah.
the first place. Just for fun.
Yeah. So that's how I met him, and he's with his bare hands created a friend group by doing that.
Yeah, and then I've become buddies. And what I actually do is I make games and I make music. Streaming is just something to do for fun. And I'll stream again in the future, but it's just not a priority. So it just comes and goes.
Okay. You told me that you had something prepared.
Well, I don't really have anything prepared. I just wanted to talk. You said you had some stuff you wanted to talk through, and so I figured,
Okay.
we'll just go on. We'll go with what's on your mind. I just wanted to be prepared. Like, I wanted to kind of think about what you wanted to talk about beforehand, so I didn't just show up and then not have any idea what to say in response to what's on your mind, right?
Right. I ran the title by you, and you said, that works perfect, and I'll see why. So I'm like wondering I feel like you got a surprise or something.
It's my hat.
Oh shit. Oh yeah. Okay, now I get it. Okay, Jesus Christ. Okay. Yeah.
It's funny because you sent that and I was just wearing my Death Stranding hat. And I was like, well, yeah.
I'm wearing a beekeeper's hat. So like underneath here is like a bunch of beekeeper mesh, and I had it on early, anyway.
Do you have a history of beekeeping, or is that just I
just have it.
You got?
I just have it. Okay. I have been called a hobbyist, and I hate that.
Can you fill in what a hobbyist in this context means? Like, why is that a derogatory term?
It's because everybody's only cares about money.
Yeah.
But I'm realizing something very scary about my life, and I'm realizing that I care more about art than money, and if I make more money, I'll just pour more money into making art. And I do want to make money from art so that I can make more art. And I feel like that'll be a good life, but I feel like a lot of people don't think that's going to be a good life.
Yeah, but just because a lot of people think something doesn't mean that's truth or value by consensus is kind of goofy. It's a silly way, in my opinion. That's a silly way to kind of look at life.
Yeah,
I mean, if it was all just about making money, then everybody should be trying to compete with Amazon or something, and nobody would ever make art. Nobody would ever make anything besides just whatever generates the most profit, basically.
Well, why do you think that they only care about money? Why do you think most people? Is it because it's hard to find something to be passionate about other than money? Or
I mean, that's certainly true.
that there's part of it, but also we kind of agree on this, but I don't want to be like dismissive. It's probably smart to care about money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very. I spent the last 3 or 4 years when COVID started. I spent probably thousands of hours reading economics textbooks, reading personal finance books, like what are bonds, what are yields, what are stocks, what are all these things, because it is important. It is important to know that stuff, but that doesn't mean that that's the main focus of existence or the main priority of life, right?
Yeah. It's a good way to. I think I fixed that. Had you a little bit quiet. It's a good way to import meaning. I feel like we are trying to get something that's impossible to get. So you're born into a either poor or a normal life, and you wish that you had been born rich. And then you work your fingers to the bone and do whatever you have to do, and you suck a billion cocks, and you do whatever thing you have to do.
You get the knee pads out.
Yeah. And you make the money, and then by the time you're like 60, you theoretically could have that childhood you never had, but it's like too late and you're dead inside.
A lot of people, when they retire, a lot of people die almost immediately after they retire because there's actually nothing left inside. And they don't have a job to go to,
Yeah.
They don't have a routine to follow, and there's just nothing there. And they just had it beat out of them.
Yeah,
So
it's I see a lot of them working at fucking like shitty jobs, like working at 7-Eleven because they just need something to do. Yeah, and that.
Or those are people that also didn't pay any attention to their kind of financial situation. So when they're at retirement age, they actually don't have any money to retire or fall back on. So that also happens.
So it could go both ways.
Yeah. I think a lot of people, just the kind of the way you framed it, I think a lot of people, if they don't have a deeper meaning or they don't have a deeper concern in life, then they do focus just on the money because they think that because they're lacking a deeper reason to do anything or to be here, especially when a lot of us have relatively comfortable lives compared to, the average person 1,000 years ago. People think that money will just fill that void, and then they either waste all their time and don't get anything, or they do get it, but they might be 60 years old and not be able to enjoy it, or they do get it and then think of all the musicians that have killed themselves, think of all the famous actors who are drug addicts, think of all these people they seem to have it all, and they're
Right.
clearly not any happier than anybody else.
Right. There's a second half to my point, is that because I only said poor and normal people, but even if you were born rich, that's not what you think it is, because I don't think those people are actually more happy.
Why do you think those people aren't more happy?
Why? I just don't. I just don't. Why do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree?
I mean, there's certainly people who are born in very fortunate circumstances that are happy, but I think a lot of them might not have a sense of deeper fulfillment in life, because if you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth, as they say, then there's not necessarily any struggle. So if you don't struggle through life and then overcome those struggles, you don't have a deeper sense of you actually deserve or you've earned the things that you're enjoying, or that you've kind of led a fulfilling life in a sense. And so that's why I think a lot of people, you could see people who are famous childhood actors or, those, any of these kinds of situations, and they end up being pretty miserable.
Yeah. I feel like you can only actually find happiness if you earn prosperity through something you actually are passionate about without making any compromises, and I think that that's really, really rare. But even then, I don't know. There's just no happiness. There's no like nirvana, like just outside of your vision. It doesn't exist. It's an illusion.
Well, most things that people think will make them happy certainly doesn't make them happy. I mean, that's for sure. It seems to me that the most people who are I mean, I don't know if anybody's ever achieved a state of nirvana. I don't know anything about that, but it's people who seem to be the happiest seem to get a sense of deeper contentment from within, not from external things. That's what I seem to notice, at least.
Okay. So what am I doing? I'm working a retail job right now so that I can focus on this. And I'm working really hard on this. And I want this to start making money, but also I'm like, I've had discussions with some content creators about like monetization and things that you can do. And the majority of those things, I'm like, that sucks. I don't want to do that. I don't want to like, I don't want to make I don't want to like fucking, shame my fucking viewers and fans into like giving me money for something, or I don't want to do that. I don't want to have people pay money to make a big giant butthole appear on my screen and then make a big fart noise. It's not what I'm trying to do, like it's just I feel like streamers that is their thing are like basically there to be babysitters, right? I'm actually trying to do something for people to watch. I'm not trying to babysit you. I'm here to actually do something for you to fucking watch.
Well, we definitely live in a modern culture that's based around a shallow attention span, short attention spans. If somebody is genuine, usually people view that as cringe, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely antithetical to, the artist's story or journey that we've seen in the past. It's almost kind of like people think that's irrelevant now. It's all just about short-term gains. People will be talking about Nietzsche and Leonardo da Vinci and all these people for hundreds of years. Nobody's going to be talking about XQC in 100 years from now.
You say that now, but
I'm pretty sure of it.
okay.
Because I can think of all kinds of speedrunners and all kinds of YouTubers, all kinds of streamers, and it's been 5 years and nobody talks about them anymore.
Okay.
Once they disappeared.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the Lindy effect?
Who's Lindy?
I don't know who Lindy is actually, but
No.
are you okay? The Lindy effect is the idea that the longer something has been culturally relevant, the more likely it's going to remain culturally relevant. So people still talk about the Beatles, but there's all kinds of random ass 80s bands that were popular for a year and then disappeared, and nobody's ever going to talk about them again. I mean, the Rick Astley thing went crazy, and then now nobody talks about Rick Astley anymore already, right? People are still talking about the Beatles and Led Zeppelin. People are still talking about Bach and Beethoven. And so the fact that people have been talking about those for so long suggests that it's more likely people will keep talking about them longer and longer, right?
I mean, yeah, it's just fucking obvious, right?
Oh yeah, but just
Yeah, but it
has a name.
Yeah, it is a name.
What you're essentially saying is you don't want to make, or from what I gather, is you don't want to make short-term casual, shallow crap for mindless zombies, and you actually want to potentially achieve something with what you're spending your time on.
Yeah, I want to strive to do something fucking cool. And I do want to monetize it, or else I'm going to die. Like, die in a worse way than if I didn't. You know, like, but, yeah, that's something I'm struggling with thinking about. And, also, sometimes people make me ashamed to refer to my projects and my artistic projects as my work, but I feel like I should call it my work. I don't want to fucking call my retail job my work. That's my fucking whatever the fuck.
It's your labor.
Labor. Yeah, it's not my work. The word hobbyist, that's why I don't like the word hobbyist, because I understand if you define a hobbyist in a certain way, it makes sense to call me a hobbyist. But, like, you don't define a person by a hobby. Like, was Jesus a hobbyist? Was Jesus a hobbyist Messiah or something? Like,
Yeah, he was just LARPing.
yeah.
No, but I mean, if you spend your life trying to achieve something and it doesn't necessarily monetize, like, was Van Gogh's life just a waste because he never actually made money off of it during his lifetime? He only became famous after he died. And is his life more meaningless than Hassan Piker's because he babysits children and tells them retarded nonsense all day? Like, you know?
Yeah.
You know, Tim Pool monetizes the hell out of what he does, but is that more valuable than, again, Van Gogh, just as an example?
Okay, but how do I monetize this shit?
Well, I mean, that's for you to figure out where the line is of.
I definitely want super chats. I want always fillet anybody that super chats in my chat. And the membership thing on YouTube, it's like you're just giving me money because you just want to support me. I almost think it's better. It's honest in that way. Like, oh, I like, it's like I want to support you. Here is money. And then I guess it comes with some kind of responsibility. I could make shit to sell, like products.
Well, what's wrong with having a Patreon or having YouTube memberships? Is that's how, if you feel like that, you're comfortable with that. What's wrong with doing that?
I am, but it's just I gotta diversify and stuff. The monetization question is a big thing. I do think I want to make like some hats or shirts. You don't care.
Oh, just if you want to do that, then just do it. You don't have to explain it to anybody, and you don't have to justify it to anybody except yourself, right?
I know. I'm not trying to. I'm just thinking about it.
Okay.
I just played some Donkey Kong Country 3 music.
You mean the best game of the trilogy?
Yeah, that's what some people say. Okay.
So then what bothers you about the process of monetizing the work you do, or the fact that people call you a hobbyist or something like that? Like, what is it that grinds your gears?
Okay, somebody told me that they do, and it's a really cool idea, they do like a some kind of cooking stream that has some interactivity where the chat like gives them money and they do a thing, and like that sounds fun and interesting, but I don't want to have that like relationship where I feel like a puppet. You know, I just actually want to like do shit I want to do. You know, that's an interesting, if in the dynamic itself of the chat and the streamer, like if that is the art you're doing, you're interested in creating a dynamic, then that's kind of interesting, but it's not what I want to do. It's not right now. I've seen people like lock themselves in their room, and then like every time you give them money, like it like squirts water in their face and like makes like sirens blare and shit, and those people are fucking wild. There's definitely an art to that. It gets real. It's like torture porn. But I do need to monetize, and
it's like I've live streamed playing guitar and playing drums, and if I was full on monetizing, I would make it so if you donate X amount, you can suggest the song, or you can change this or change that. But I'm playing guitar and drums primarily for me, not for the monetization. So I've never done that.
Right.
It's not in line with what I want to be spending my time doing. So it's totally fair that. I mean, it's a cool idea. I get what you're saying too, but I also don't think that if you actually have a passion or a vision, and that type of thing is not what you want to be doing, then there's just no point in doing it, right?
Connor's like a normal guy, compared to like all these internet people. It's like, I feel like so many people like I could talk to who are like streamers and shit, for some of these topics, they could fucking do a billion mental gymnastics. But it's really not that complicated.
Everything's a lot simpler in life when you realize, I mean, you and I are roughly the same age, I think. At best, we have 60 more years on this planet. I don't really want to spend any of those 60 years doing any of the stuff I don't want to do.
Yeah.
It really simplifies life when you kind of think of it like that.
What about washing dishes? What about being a janitor?
Well, there's a cost-benefit analysis. So I could just choose not to wash dishes, but then my kitchen would be disgusting. But I want to have a clean kitchen, so I'm happy to wash the dishes. If I want to make the shittiest, greasy black metal with no production value, no commercial value, nobody's ever going to listen or buy it, but to fund that, I have to work as a janitor, but that's what I really want to do, then that's what I would do.
Okay, I think I brought you here because you are basically, you just think everything I already think, but I just need you to convince it to everyone else. Okay, it's not actually me that needs convincing. I just brought you here because I need to fucking like get these people's like heads straight. Okay, I'm like hiding behind you right now. That's what's happening.
You are never going to convince other people to think like you if you have a vision. That is completely that is an impossible task. The world will never give you permission to do the things you want to do with your life, and everybody who's shitting on other people who have a vision in their life, they've already given up. It's pretty much that simple. There's do you know who Noel Gallagher is?
I've definitely heard that name. Is he the guy that squashes watermelons?
he's one of the guys from the band Oasis.
Oh, and, yeah, I do know him. Yeah, I know that name.
Yeah, he was on an episode of Hot Ones on YouTube, that show where celebrities eat spicy chicken wings.
Yeah.
And I remember the guy asked him, when you write music, what do you think about? Do you think about your fans, and how do you kind of cater to them, or you do what you want? The guy's kind of known as being a bit of a dick, and he said, I don't give a fuck about what the fans want. The fans don't know what they want. Yes. And when you look at all of the greatest art throughout history, it's because somebody had a vision and they executed it, and then people after the fact realized that's what they wanted, but they didn't know it at the time.
My favorite definition, it's not like it's not literally a definition, but you can call it one, of an artist is it's a distinction, not a definition, but a craftsman is somebody that makes something you want. An artist is someone who makes you want something you never knew you wanted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But nobody else is ever going to give you permission, or you're never going to be on the side of the majority if you want to be an artist instead of a craftsman.
but I do want to inspire. So like if I can't connect with people, if I can't because for me the thought of just deciding that I'm gonna spend my life making art and not just trying to make as much money as I can, that is a really scary thought. It goes against how I was thinking like 3 years ago. I was totally Sigma grind set. I was learning to code. I was really miserable, and I was shutting down anything that I cared about because I can't focus. I can't be happy. I'm not allowed to be happy. I'm not allowed to listen to music that makes me happy because I'm not allowed to be happy yet. I have to be miserable. I have to wait until I'm 60 so I can be happy then when I have a bunch of fucking money. But it's also like lonely to be in that place too, because nobody's thinking like that.
I've also been there. I know exactly what you're talking about.
The lonely part?
Well, both the kind of selling your soul for the Sigma grind set, busting your ass for something that's not in line with your values or what you want to genuinely do with this time you have on the planet. But also, when you say the loneliness, do you mean you're lonely because... Well, what do you mean by the loneliness?
So I want to so I'm talking about how I feel right now, and I'm putting it out there, and maybe some people will already understand where I'm coming from, but if you don't, then I want you to I would aspire to you would see what I'm saying, even if you don't agree. Understand, to be understood, and to be misunderstood by a lot of people is a lonely feeling.
Yep, absolutely. But again, that's kind of a trade-off that you have to be willing to make if you're going to aspire to follow through on a vision.
Well, the thing is, I don't think that but the mass consensus, you could define those people as more understood because everybody agrees and everything, but I don't think most of those people actually understand themselves or what they're doing with their life, and they're just going through the motions, doing what they're told and what is expected. You think it would be a good life to have do you think it would be a good life to be Mozart? This is something I thought about a lot, specifically Mozart, because he had probably the worst imaginable type of helicopter parenting, really, really intense shit, and he was paraded around like a monkey, and he became it turned him into a virtuoso that will be remembered forever, and he died young, and he was an artist. By today's standards, he wouldn't have been an artist. His helicopter parents would have made him become a COO by age 22. You know what I mean? The parents that would have made Mozart then today would have made you into a business executive or something.
Yeah, he basically had Gary Vaynerchuk as a dad.
Who's that?
Oh, Gary Vaynerchuk is one of these Sigma grind set hustle muscle dudes on Instagram. But there's also a lot of people that do artistic things and have visions and accomplish them, and they're also very happy. It doesn't have to just be, there's always there's the saying that all great art comes from suffering, but I think that's kind of stupid, frankly. I think there's a lot of struggle for people who want to try and accomplish things that are interesting or unique in their lives, but that doesn't mean that the struggle doesn't have to be suffering.
Okay, but I've seen so many artists that once they start making decent money, their art becomes dog shit.
Yeah.
I see it a lot more than it doesn't happen. It happens most of the time.
That's usually because they give up the vision once they have the money. They lose the tunnel vision that they had because now there's all this other stuff that they could go waste time doing or prioritize over fulfilling themselves with the work that they're doing.
Yeah.
And then, in some cases, some people decide, okay, I busted my ass for 10 years and they ended up being successful. And then they go, well, I want to enjoy what I've earned. And that's their decision to make as well.
I can respect that. Well, what about AI and being an artist? Have you thought about that?
What do you mean?
The meaning of art is not going to be... AI is... Everything that we thought made us unique in 20 years... we're going to have an identity crisis where our sense of self is going to be, anybody that had any sense of self from any intellectual endeavor is going to be worthless in 20 years.
I mean, that may or may not happen, but let's say if it does happen, there's been plenty of examples throughout history where some new technology completely revolutionizes how people interact with each other or how people create things or what people do. And we're here and there's still people making art and still accomplishing things. And I don't think that'll change.
People will still make art, but I feel like art as we have defined it in like the Western tradition of art has always had a tie to money and I actually don't think that this is the worst thing, because it's a system that the art within capitalism, it's a system that feeds into itself. There isn't art like that in cultures that don't have some kind of system like that, because the people don't have a reason to really make art. And so the incentive structure gives you a reason and it feeds into itself. So you're expressing yourself so that you can make more money, to express yourself to make more money, and it feeds into itself like a cycle. And I feel like if we take away the incentive because anybody can just make AI art like instantly no matter what, then we're going to go back to when the most lofty art was just something on the level of nobody's going to spend a month doing something, making something. They're going to spend like an afternoon,
I think being concerned about this kind of stuff is above any individual person's pay grade, to be honest.
Well, that's why I brought it up, because it's like, it's something we can talk about for a long time.
Well, but, AI is just a tool. We're not talking about AGI, we're just talking about AI here. So AI would just be a tool for people to speed up the process of creating things. And the more you're able to speed up the process, the more complicated the stuff you're able to make. The more grandiose and larger scale the stuff you're able to make.
That's true. But there's
so for example...
So that means... Okay, but that means that the art that it will exist will be something we can't even comprehend right now.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, if you go back into the 80s and look at the work that John Carmack and John Romero did, the guys who made Doom and Quake, before they got together and made Doom and Quake, they're basically just arcade games on the PC, and they had to program it in assembly language, and they had to do the little pixel art and stuff. And they're just these little arcade games, really simple, really basic. And then as, C and C++ came onto the scene, as more tools developed, they're able to make Doom and Quake. And now, we have Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal and these massive things because the pipelines for all this work have gotten so much more, efficient and powerful and impressive, and that scaling up will just exponentially continue if AI does what people think it will.
Well, yeah. Well, there's so many things I want to do and so many things I want to make. You're a video game developer, but things like video games and stuff, for me, it's obvious to me. I'll be like, I'm not doing that right now because for me, the investment in time to learn the skills for something like that, you already know a lot of those skills, but the whole thing process to make a video game is going to take a long time, but the process to learn the skills too is going to take a long time. And I know that in the future, probably in my lifetime, those tools will exist to make it way easier to make. And I'm like, right now is not the right time to do it. But as soon as those tools exist, everyone's going to do it. So it would only be like novel if I did it now. But so it's like or you got to be the first one on the tool. Yeah.
Well, similarly, I've kind of wondered if I should go get sometimes I've wondered if I should get a master's or a PhD or something in computer science. But given the AI stuff we're talking about and how universities generally seem to be on the decline, like the value prop that they offer for the amount of time investment and monetary investment doesn't seem to add up to me anymore. We are in that inflection point where things are a lot less stable and certain than they used to be. If you go back to the agricultural revolution, the advancements of being a blacksmith was just nothing. Your grandfather was a blacksmith, and the job that you're doing right now is exactly the same as the job that he was doing. Whereas, when we're 70 years old and there's 15-year-olds learning stuff, the stuff they're going to be doing is just completely different than any of the stuff we grew up doing when we were 15 years old, right? So it is a very strange inflection point of trying to determine what's valuable to do with your time, or what kind of art you want to make, or where you want to go with your vision or what you're doing, because we don't know what the future is going to look like.
It's weird when it's art because it's basically like sticking your finger up your butt and smearing shit, or it's this random weird, it's not as it's goal oriented in a demented way. Like our creativity and psychosis are not too different. It's hard to.
That's a unique paintbrush you're using there.
Yeah, I've used my dick as a paintbrush, and then I used my dick as a paintbrush when I was in high school, and I made 2 paintings like that. And then I gave one of them to my Latin teacher because she said that she wanted one of my artworks, and I gave it to her. And I didn't tell her that it was made with my dick. And yeah,
that's some deep Seth lore.
Yeah.
Hey, Metallica's got jizz on one of their album covers, so yeah.
Oh, I've got jizz on all of their album covers. I have to take a piss. I'll be right back. All right. Do you have like a 2-minute story?
2-minute story?
Yeah.
Sure, go for it.
Okay. Wait. What kind of story is it? Never mind. Just go.
Yeah, just go to the bathroom. I don't even have the YouTube. Yeah, here's a story for you. I don't even have the YouTube stream pulled up because I don't follow anybody on my social media accounts. I don't read the YouTube comments. I don't read YouTube feeds. Just given the stuff that Seth and I are talking about is I noticed that over the last decade, when I was a teenager, so I'm 32 years old. When I was a teenager, I didn't give a shit at all about what people thought about the music I made. When I first started making games, I didn't give a shit about what anybody thought about it. I just wanted to make the stuff I wanted to make. And of course, as the internet kind of grew up and became more commoditized and kind of like the internet used to be this massive thing, and there's people all over the place doing all kinds of stuff. And now everybody's they're on YouTube, they're on Twitch, they're on Facebook, they're on Twitter, they're on Instagram. They're just on these kind of narrow areas, and people are always commenting on everything. And I realized I was putting way too much stake in what people were, I guess, saying or what they thought about any of the stuff I was doing. And so then I just decided to stop paying attention. I just genuinely don't care anymore about what anybody thinks about the music or the games that I make. The last album I put out, I didn't even promote it. I just released on my YouTube channel and then just looked away. And I never looked at it again. So I don't even know if there's anybody here watching this on YouTube right now. That's kind of how I look at stuff on the internet right now. I'm also kind of worried that I heard somewhere that 50% of internet traffic is just bots. And not that I've been duped, but there's been a couple instances where AI generated images or generated text, and I thought it was an actual person, and then it came out that it was a bot, and I realized that I've been on the internet long enough to, when people say, "Oh, I've seen a shop," that's shooped. I've seen it shop before. I used to be pretty good at spotting that stuff, but now this stuff is so good that I have a hard time noticing. And so I've just decided I'm not going to pay attention to anything like that anymore.
Okay, so given what you said, this might be a place where we have some kind of conflict.
Did you hear anything that I said?
Yeah, I heard the whole thing. I heard every fucking word you said, you fucking asshole.
I thought your headphones were off.
No. How do you feel about what I'm doing? I'm getting so plugged into everything that you hate. And it does suck, but I'm doing it anyway.
There is nothing of value down that road. There's literally nothing of value. And the problem is with this kind of stuff is that most people, especially on the internet, but most people in general, are stupid, they're lazy, they're uneducated, they don't make an effort, and if you create your value system or create your vision around consensus of the average person, you just get dumbed down to people's level.
That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm actually trying to provoke people. I'm trying to fight the consensus. I don't think anything's worth saying unless it goes against consensus. Like if I had something to say that everybody agreed on, like there's no fucking way I would want to make a video or do a stream necessarily about it, unless I was, I don't know, really emotional for some reason. I don't know, like leave Britney alone or something. I don't know. I mean, even that was against the consensus. That guy was a fucking pioneer.
So, have you ever heard of, I think it's Hegel's dialectic?
Yeah.
I get into some nerdy ass philosophy shit.
Synthesis, dialectical synthesis.
Yeah. So, just in case anybody watching is unfamiliar, if the idea is that philosophy is an intergenerational discussion, and if you talk about the dialectic, that it's impossible not to talk about the dialectic according to Hegel. The fact that you're commenting on the dialectic means that you're participating in the dialectic. So it's kind of like a recursive system. So I understand what you're saying when you're saying that you want to rebel against against what's going on around you, and that's why you're paying attention to it. But the real way I think to rebel against it is to not pay any attention to it at all and be outside of that system.
Okay, well,
the same way that the opposite of hate isn't love, it's indifference.
Because I love and care about you, I want you to be safe and outside of it. But also, I think you've abandoned humanity. You've abandoned humanity.
What's the problem with that?
You're human.
Yeah. No, I have abandoned the concerns. Like, I'm just not concerned with what the average person thinks. I'm just not concerned about it.
I'm really concerned about it.
No matter how hard you work during your lifetime, you're not going to convince the average person to change their mind. It's just not going to happen. Ever. Nobody is ever going to convince any average person anything.
Okay, I believe that we need an emotional revolution. Like, that sounds corny, and I don't know if that's the right words to use for it, but we need people to have like a wave of emotional intelligence, because people are so unself-aware, like, and tearing everybody else down because they're afraid of looking at themselves. And I feel like social media kind of perpetuates it, but it's something that it's not a matter of convincing. Sometimes it's just a matter of showing.
And so my response to that would be, you can show them a different path if you exit and then go and do something totally different. if you're still within the same system that they're stuck in, you're just showing them that they should stay in that same system that they're stuck in.
What would that system be?
You just have to have your own vision that you come up with.
When you say system, you sound like you're Andrew Tate saying we're in the Matrix. Like, so what specifically, what do you mean by that system?
Oh, just, if you're stuck on Twitter.
Example. Okay.
Yeah, if everybody's on Twitter arguing about whatever the latest hot topic is, and then 2 days later they've forgotten about that topic and they're talking about some other topic, and you're also talking about the same topic every 2 days that they're talking about, you're in the same cultural sphere that they're in.
You're right.
Whereas if you have a Twitter account, but what you do is you just post thoughts that you have during the day, and say, you read a book about the French Revolution, you're posting about that, and then you open up a book about Che Guevara, or a book about Ayn Rand, or whatever kind of crazy shit you're reading, and you're posting about that. Well, those are two very different, kind of extreme examples, right? They're kind of crazy. What you're doing is you're putting something out there that is outside of, Mr. Potato Head's gender or whatever. Dr. Seuss books aren't being reprinted. Like, who gives a fuck?
Yeah. I actually kind of like Twitter. I like Twitter a lot more than I like fucking Reddit. Reddit, I've decided, is worse than Twitter for the world. But
I wouldn't really know anymore.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so I like to comment on the latest retarded whatever it is. Only if it fits within whatever I'm actually passionate about, and I can use it to talk about what I care about. So like I'm just like taking the thing people care like for focus on, like actually, if you analyze it with this way of thinking, then you can think like this about it, and then it's like I'm trying to use whatever it is to express myself.
And at the end of the day, like, I'm not saying that I'm right and that you're wrong. That's definitely not the point that I'm making.
It's definitely not the case.
And if that works for you, then that's what you should be doing. There's the idea, both Nietzsche talks about this, and then there's in religion, there's the idea of provenance, that there's truths that you discover for yourself, and you can't really communicate them to other people. But like, if you have a vision and you want to do that, then that's what you should be doing at the end of the day. So if that works for you, that's what you should be doing.
If you are unable to have the conversation about if Twitter or Reddit is worse for humanity, then are you able to have the conversation about what is good for humanity?
I think that definitely gives way too much credit to Twitter and Reddit.
Well, no, I actually think that a lot of social media platforms, because they are so financially incentivized and advertising, and it's so inhuman, algorithms, all that like type of thing, it's very inhuman process. I feel like they have very unique and twisted ways of affecting humanity and human psychology and human social interactions that have really unintended, massive, like wide-scale unintended consequences.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like Twitter, I would say the unintended consequence for Twitter is like Twitter, the only way to get like a shit ton of like you get your post goes viral and everybody fucking sees it is if you're really mean and shitty and hateful. Okay. On Reddit, so like that's one thing. That's bad for humanity. Reddit, I think there's entire ideologies that are fucking banned off of Reddit completely. And they like, and every time I try to do what I just described, and I try to go to a Reddit community and talk about a contrary opinion that like I think they would be interested in talking about, because like, oh, I have this different idea you probably haven't thought about like this or something like that, instant ban. If the community has more than 2,000 people in it, if it's small, that doesn't always happen, but if there's enough people, an instant ban, and so it's completely isolated people intellectually, and Reddit is the place where you have long form, super autistic discussions with walls of text. Like, it should be the place where people should go to fucking like be super autistic and have these conversations for hours and hours. It should be that place, but it's not.
So, going back to the what we're talking about just before, is that why would you want to spend your time then trying to convince a bunch of people who have already decided that they will not be convinced by you? Well, we're talking about kind of the average person and their mindset.
But I don't blame those people. I blame the system.
But they're choosing to be on Reddit. So on some level, they're saying this is okay for me to spend my time doing this. They're agreeing with the system by partaking in it. If they disagreed with it, they would either not be on it or they would be actively trying to tear it down in some way.
Also, I think that they're in the process of doing that, you pick up people, because I think that in the consensus ideological camp world that we live in, there are tons of people within every camp that are like, yeah, guys, I agree. And someone comes along and they are a little bit brave and they don't agree, and their whole world opens up. I think that's really common with a lot of this gender stuff, like potato head gender stuff. On like, people give it lip service and stuff, but like most people like don't think about it or like it, and you know what I mean?
I think the people that are willing to have their minds changed about stuff are not the people they will seek out things that might change their mind on their own volition. The people that are actively trying to suppress things that could change people's minds are not the people that are going to have their minds changed. So trying to break into their system when they've already explicitly said that they don't want to have their minds changed is just kind of a waste of time.
I hate this argument because I don't agree. Like, no, I'm telling you, those people that don't want to have their minds changed are holding everyone else hostage. And if you just go and confront them in front of other people, then all these other people are like I think it's like a lot of people see that and they're like, they start shitting themselves. They're like, I wanted to do that the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Yeah, I mean that's fair enough. That's an angle to take. My angle is always just I always just think it's more valuable to spend your time being an example of a different way to approach things rather than spend your time being confrontational and reactive. And I'm not saying, of course, that you're being reactive, but there's a lot of people in these systems that are spending all their time being reactive instead of being inspiring or just having kind of an alternate vision or showing a different path for people to embark on.
So let's take a specific topic then that you're like comfortable going into depth about, that you have like a contrary opinion about than mass consensus. Just pick anything.
Death Stranding is one of the greatest games ever made.
Okay, and everybody shits on the game. Okay, this is an easy one, okay, but...
Yeah, it's like 50-50. You either love it or you hate it.
Okay, yeah, but a lot of the people that say that they hate it or talk shit about it, this is a good example because those people have not played it and really don't know what they're talking about.
Oh, a lot of people played that game. They fucking hate it.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, oh, yeah. I mean, okay, so... There's the people who have never played it and they hate it, and to me they're just stupid. I just don't care what they think because they're literally ignorant, and that's fine. That's their decision. I'm totally cool with it.
What I was trying to get...
There's the people who hate it and have played it. What am I going to say that's going to convince them that no, you were having fun for 40 hours, you just didn't know it? What am I going to do?
Oh God, You're like one
If
of
I do
those-
want, if I do want to convince somebody that Death Stranding's great, I could just go on my Twitch stream. I could play Death Stranding, show them I'm having a great time. They might watch it and be like, "Hey, this is actually kind of cool. I get why he enjoys it," and then maybe they'll play it again.
That's what I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask, how do you set the example? But okay, but that's the thing. Okay, I agree with the set the example approach, but I think you got to put the example in front of people. I think if you do the set the example approach and then you like launch yourself on a catapult into a crowd of people that like are the exact like the people who absolutely hate Death Stranding, and you're like, I love Death Stranding, you just like just walk around like a little angel, like, you know, completely oblivious and just love Death Stranding and around all these people that hate it, then I feel like you like that is the most impactful way you could do it.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. If that's like if that's lines up with your temperament and that's how you want to approach it, then that's totally cool.
Yeah, I wanna get,
I
wanna
That
get
just doesn't work for me.
I wanna get blood on my hands. You know what I mean? You know, I wanna be immersed in I just don't wanna be alone is the thing. I don't wanna be lonely.
Yeah, and it approaching it the way that I approach it is a very lonely way to go. That's definitely true. The way that I kind of approach a lot of things in life is definitely a lonely way to go.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off that because I would rather at times, maybe to clarify, I don't feel alone, but I definitely feel maybe isolated or kind of secluded. But I would rather feel that than feel angry or ostracized.
Ostracized is probably a worse feeling than being alone.
And that, I think maybe that's where the root of how we're looking at these two different things is. I'd much rather just kind of be secluded and isolated and in my own little solitary bubble than feel ostracized.
Yeah, I kind of want to be ostracized and like out of spite. Or like I want to be ostracized as a form of revenge. You know, like I don't know. I know that you're very into the stoic thing, and I get the feeling that the words like spite and revenge, you're probably like, do you feel like you're above spite and revenge?
No. I'm definitely not. I am not an angel. That's for sure.
Okay.
Anybody who tells you that they're above basic humans' emotions are full of shit. That's for sure.
Okay.
Absolutely. I don't think that's also not really like some people think that if you, again, there's a lot of things with stoicism I don't agree with, but that being a stoic is you block off emotions, you don't feel anything. That's obvious. It's just not a correct implementation or view of what stoicism actually is. Of course, I feel angry, and something happened to me today. I won't discuss, but something happened to me today, and I got pretty mad. And I thought, like, oh, I should get revenge on that. And then, I kind of talked myself down. It's like, this is just a waste of time. What are you doing? So I'm not above that.
Yeah. For me, the concept of revenge, like, I'm not against the emotions, but I am really against revenge of like in the terms of like getting back on a personal way. But I think like, let's say that you date women that refuse to wash the dishes for like 40 years of your life. Revenge is now dating a woman that will wash the dishes every time. And like that I feel like you kind of need that. If you're that guy who like, and it could be anything, but if you're that guy that was forced to wash the dishes for 40 years and like he had 4 different 10-year relationships or whatever, and then like fucking no, next relationship, you don't wash the dishes anymore. You need that now.
I think there's an important difference where I see this a lot where people they'll break up, and then what they want to do is they want to get a new relationship, but they want the person they had the breakup with, they want that person to know how happy they are without them. And that's where the revenge angle comes in. See, look, they are doing the dishes. I'm not doing the dishes, but then what you're doing is you're living your life through the eyes of somebody else.
I'm not saying that. I just don't.
No, I'm not saying you're saying that, but I'm saying that if you look deeper into your example there, that to me that's just a total waste of time.
My example is just about not wanting to do the dishes ever again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't see how that's
It's like reparations.
It doesn't have to be a negative. Like when you talk about revenge, you're talking about like you've got these negative emotions built up, and you want to kind of put that onto somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And to me, that just seems like a total waste of time. And again, but a lot of people do that, and maybe they do feel fulfilled. Maybe does work for them, and that's their way to go about life.
There's a lot of shit. I don't really think that because your example of living your values and having that inspire other people only works because you said you'd stream it. You'd stream the game that people don't like, and they'd see you enjoying it. But you'd only really catch the eye of a couple people that would be contrary to that. And I don't know.
I mean, if we're using that Death Stranding example, I don't really give a shit if other people don't like Death Stranding. Like, I have a fundamental view of the world is that people only change their minds if they want to have their minds changed, if they're willing to have their minds changed, and that if they're not willing to have that, in general, I just believe that it's a complete waste of time. You can give anybody any amount of statistics, any amount of facts, any amount of logic, and put it right in front of them, and they just won't believe it because they don't want to.
Yeah, but that's where I don't agree with your philosophy here. I really strongly disagree with it. It's hard for me to argue with you on it because and I'm absolutely respect your boundaries. You said you didn't want to get into like drama or I don't want to like force you into a place where you have to like stake out a really controversial opinion or something. But I feel like that is so I agree that we shouldn't logic people out of it.
You could throw an example. And like I could just say if it involves specific YouTubers and
no, I'm
it's
talking
internet drama,
the gender thing. Okay.
Oh yeah, I don't really care to
go
on about that too much.
You don't want to go on about that.
It's just one of those things where I don't see that one specifically is a topic where there's a lot of people who don't want their minds changed on any side, and it just seems to me like you're just willingly ostracizing yourself or 50 you're going to make 50% of people just despise you no matter what you say, and I just don't want to get involved with those people.
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not going into I think that the way that people tend to argue these things with their trying to logic or shame other people out of something, or that it just entrenches everybody more. And what you really have to do is have compassion for people who disagree with you, and specifically that topic, neither side has any compassion for the other side. And like if you just do that, you actually can get really far. It's just that on Twitter that doesn't get you any fucking visibility for your fucking tweet. That's the problem. So that's why I blame the platforms. I think I don't think that compassion is so weak that it can't fucking spread and be a positive force. I just think the platforms that we use to communicate suck.
I totally agree. Which is again why I don't use them to talk about any of that stuff, because kind of like you're just wasting your time.
You gotta
right?
You gotta be compassionate, but in a way that seems mean or something. I don't know. I'm trying to be creative here to try to subvert the algorithm or something.
I am of the opinion that the algorithms that dominate these platforms are far beyond, like I'm of the opinion that Facebook, just as a platform, just Facebook, let alone all the other platforms, is far more powerful than whoever the president of the United States is. Like these algorithms that are dominating people's lives, essentially, or the feeds that they see, the things they believe, the news that they consume, is way more powerful than most nation states at this point.
Well, when I said algorithm, though, I meant trick people. So like, people get into a fiery content consumption mode when it's hateful and and anger and outrage. And if you can style it in the form of outrage, maybe, but it's actually compassion, like an outrageous compassion. I don't know, maybe you can trick the people. Then the next Messiah, like the next Jesus, if there was one, would have to be like, I don't think it's possible. No, it's possible.
See, the what I would think, given the example that you're giving, is if you wanted to express some kind of compassionate view, the better way to go about it, in my opinion, would be is to write a book about it, release the book, go on a press tour, go do book interviews and book reviews, and go on podcasts. You can express that and explore that viewpoint that you have, but you don't have to do it through Twitter. You don't have to do it through Reddit. You don't have to do it through these platforms that are essentially designed to dilute and destroy your message, because you can't be compassionate, right?
That's a good point, but also then nobody sees it.
Well, I mean, there's people who write books and tons of people read them. Or they, you go on some podcasts, or you go onto TV, or radio. There's all kinds of other places to go. It's just not. Everybody seems to believe that Twitter and Reddit and these platforms are just the world. And if you look at the user counts on some of these platforms, there's not actually that many people on Twitter. There's 8 billion plus people in the world, and there's a couple million people on Twitter. 10 million, 20, 30, whatever the number is. But that's actually, and then a bunch of those accounts are just bots, and a bunch of those accounts are inactive. There's actually not that many people who spend all day giving a shit about any of this stuff.
Yeah, and honestly, when I'm looking at Twitter, it's not like, I wonder how many other people feel this way, but when I'm looking at Twitter, I don't give a shit, and it's like a job. It feels like a job. I don't understand. So I understand people who are on Twitter because they're trying to promote something, or they're trying to whatever. But but I don't understand just people who just follow a ton of people and just like comment and like, because they're not trying to promote something. Like, they actually want Twitter, you know what I mean? Like, because I imagine almost everybody trying to use Twitter for any means, like, despises Twitter on some level, you know?
I think those are people. I think there's a lot of people that are on these platforms that are just kind of beyond reach, to be honest.
No, you've given up. They're not beyond reach.
They are a subset of people who are just not worth the time. Yes, yeah. If somebody doom scrolls on Twitter 7 hours a day and they're just reading the worst takes possible because that's what the algorithm's designed to give them, and they're choosing to do that, that's how they want to spend their lives. They are beyond.
They're not. No, absolutely not. No, they're absolutely not beyond reach. They just need, so if you had somebody in your life who was doing that,
I wouldn't convince them to get off of Twitter by talking to them on Twitter.
Yes, yeah, I know, but you can't imagine convincing them to get off. That's why I'm saying that.
Outside of Twitter.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. And you would talk to them. Okay. Yeah, so but what what
you're talking about, though, is that you're going to be on Twitter to convince them to get off of Twitter.
I understand that doesn't sound ideal. Yeah, it really isn't.
I mean, if you can square that circle, then I would be thoroughly impressed. I would praise you for doing that.
But that's why I said like a lot of the like things that are the typical monetization things are things I'm not interested in, because I want like my like YouTube channel and stuff to be very different. I don't want to engage with it the same way everyone else engages with it. So I want it to exist on the same thing, but like actually be a different product. You know, like I mean, I'm saying product because I still want to make money.
But I do the same. My music's on Spotify. My games are on Steam. I have Twitter and Instagram and Facebook accounts and all this stuff. Like I absolutely understand what you're saying, and I do the same thing. But I don't spend any time on it except for just posting stuff. So I totally understand what you're saying. Like Spotify heavily incentivizes the modern music industry heavily incentivizes singles as opposed to albums, because people, I don't think, listen to albums that much. But you know, if you release an album every 3 years as opposed to releasing a single every 3 months, that's a lot better for continuously bringing people towards your music, because every 3 months you go, hey, there's a new song, hey, there's a new song, hey, there's a new song. And you can decide to release singles, or you can decide to stick with your guns and release albums, or you can release EPs. There's a bunch of different ways you can do it, and you can exist inside of the Spotify ecosystem if you want to. It's just that you have to make the shots on how you want to spend your time on this planet. You know, like I post my stuff on Twitter, but I don't follow anybody, and I don't engage with anybody, and I don't check if anybody's leaving comments or replying to anything.
Oh, you post, you filthy animal.
Yeah.
I want to spend my time screaming at the people that you like, screaming, you know, like, I'm not like screaming. Be charitable when you're visualizing this, okay? I want to spend my time screaming at the people you think can't be reached.
And that's your prerogative. Like, it goes back to, like, I can't tell you how to live your life. That's what you want to do. That's cool.
I'm gonna die a little bit less alone if I do that.
Okay, but that's like a priority of yours. That's okay.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, coming back to the kind of artist and monetization things, is that you have to kind of know what your values are and how you want to approach things, and then you should do it. This is where I'm a big fan of Nietzsche and his philosophy, is that you kind of figure out your own values and you go for it. I have respect for people who genuinely do that, even if it's completely different than my values or how I want to approach things. But if I can see that they've done the homework, they've done the work, they know what they're doing, and they're going for it wholeheartedly and genuinely, I have total respect for people who do that, even if I totally disagree personally.
Yeah. Can't you? Fuck. Jesus. I think you can unpolarize people. Are you trying? You're like blackpilling me. You're not gonna.
I'm not black. Not black pill. I'm anti black pill. I'm anti doomer. I think people who are black pilled are fucking losers. You're literally just saying that, like, I am a loser. There is no hope. I have lost. Black pill people are fucking losers. I have no space for that anymore. If you would have asked me this 5-10 years ago, I was more of a black pillar, and I just completely don't agree with that mindset. To me, it's the opposite of the black pill, or white pill, or whatever people want to call it, is the idea that the people who do want to have their minds changed will seek it out and they will find it. And if you put your work out there, it's waiting for them to find it, and it's their mission, and they will find it. And whatever it is,
you don't think that it'll be helpful for abortion, very polarized topic. I have literally felt emotionally attached to both sides at different points in my life, and I can see it from both sides. And it's just what you value. It really is not a fact thing. It's not. There's nothing you can argue out anybody out of. It's just what you think and what you feel. And if you go to one side and you're like, "Hey, I get it," like just having somebody who disagrees with you, just like and understand you and empathize with you. That's something that people just don't get. It doesn't happen.
See, I think that's a very black pill take.
Is it?
Yeah.
Why?
It's, you know, going back to the Twitter example about how you're saying you want to express anger to show compassion is the kind of the way that you'd kind of.
No, that was just a stupid theory. I was trying to be creative, and I was like, how do you undermine the system that only promotes anger? So I was trying to be. That's not a really serious thought.
Okay, well, I was thinking of what you were just expressing through that lens.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll take it back. That you were not being blackpilling. I don't have a. If that was not what you were suggesting, then I won't follow through with that.
Yeah, I'm not even sure that would work. The trying to like be compassionate in a way that kind of looks like anger to people, so that they get riled up. I don't think at that point it probably would just be, you know, the word toxic would probably be the better choice. Like, it's not just anger that gets going on Twitter. It's you have to be shitty. Mean.
So I guess my white pill take is that everybody has the chance of opening their mind if they're willing to do it, but that always has to be an internal thing. It can never come externally. That's my take on it. You know, like no, I don't think any when you have the like, you know, the famous atheists like Sam Harris or Christopher Hitchens talks to some creationist, you know, the creationist is never going to convince Sam Harris, and Sam Harris is never going to convince the creationist.
I do actually agree, but you're missing something. It's not that you convince them, it's that you treat them well so that they can be in a place where they change in themselves. It's not that you actually convince them. It's that, like, that's where the compassion comes in. Like, so many of these heartfelt, like, very radical positions come from a place of bad experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And you can get past that by having people be kind to you. That's why I think that so many people go into like incel like culture and stuff. They feel like the world has been unkind to them, and then there's one group that will like open arms, you know.
Yeah, most extremist groups kind of work like that.
Yeah.
You know, if you ever had a sense of friendship or family, and then a gang, you know, you're in Latin America and a gang comes along and says, "Hey, we'll hang out with you," and you join in through that.
Yeah. I remember being really poor in Boston, and then I messaged my friend and I was like, you know, I get it. I would join a gang right now. Say someone came into my door and asked if I wanted to join up. You're like, all right, yeah.
Yeah, you're George Costanza, and you're gonna join the Van Buren boys.
Yeah, I don't remember that episode.
Classic.
Yeah.
No, you know, I when I was saying, you know, there's people are just there's people that I just don't think they're worth spending the time reaching. It's because I think that it's something within themselves they have to unlock if they're willing to change their views, and that's their own journey.
Yeah, but that's where I agree with you about this on the intellectual level. But those people are the people who need the most, and actually I think can absorb the most kindness They just need, and just being kind to those people is just leaps and bounds above or further than anything anybody really tries to do. Like the atheist guy trying to debate somebody out of their religion, that's fucking no, that's not gonna do shit. It's just yeah. But like the atheist guy, like that's why. I mean, if you're religious, like when religious people go and just like give food to homeless people, they know what to do. They got it right. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So so when I'm talking about that, there's people that are just not worth the time. Is that there's a lot of people I know who believe some crazy, what I would consider some crazy shit, and they have some bad takes or whatever, and they'll start talking to me about it, and I'll just kind of nod and be like, oh yeah, cool, yeah, oh yeah. And then that's it. And then I don't engage with it. I just go like, oh yeah, okay, yep. And then, which I guess from your viewpoint could be showing compassion. I'm not arguing against them or telling them they're wrong or that they're a piece of shit or whatever. I'm just going like, oh yeah, okay. Oh, you also like Donkey Kong Country? And then I relate with them on that, but I never like shit on them.
Yeah, but like you also got to be like, oh, by the way, I don't agree with any of that. Let's continue playing Donkey Kong Country. They have to know that you're compassionate and you actually completely disagree with them on whatever crazy thing it is, and they can see you as not somebody who's trying to tear them down at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know. Just I think that the people who don't want to they're not ready to have their mind changed. They're not willing to have their mind changed. The second you go, nah, you might be wrong about that, or you kind of push back, then, you're the enemy at that point. You just become the enemy. I just don't agree with the idea that just, yeah. I always just think it's an internal thing, because there's been various points in my life where I had certain opinions, and it's always just been an internal process of going, like, maybe I'm wrong about that. And then I look into it.
This is what I'm trying to do. I've got people who watch my stream who are actually Nazis. I'm not a Nazi. I'm not gonna tell them to get fuck off though. And I think that the fact that people that I can disagree with so strongly can still like connect with me is like a win. That's a cool thing.
Nope. Okay.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know if anybody who listens to my music or whatever, play my games or whatever, I don't know what their opinions are. So I don't know. Actually, when it comes to the stuff that I release, I don't care who likes it or not, really. So I just hope to connect with them on, like, if they listen to it and they're like, yeah, that's a sick beat. And I'm like, cool. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Yeah.
I think when I was younger, I definitely had the opinion that you have, which is to be a bit more confrontational or a bit more direct about it. And maybe it's just my own life experiences of just whenever I've had my own opinion change, it's always just been more of an internal thing. Or you have an opinion and then you go through life and you just kind of see a thing there, you see a thing there, you see a thing there, and eventually you're kind of like, you know what, I might be wrong about that. And then you go and do all the homework and then you reassess whether you're right or wrong. So that could be just my own experience and my own bias coming through. And because at those points, some of the opinions I had is that it's kind of like no matter what anybody says, I'm not going to listen to them because I already just think I'm right. It also could be like a fundamental view, is I think that everybody, it's like your head is a box and like you are stuck in your own box. You can never fully connect with somebody else. You can never know what it's like to be somebody else and they can't know what it's like to be with you. So most of the things are internal. Most of the processes you go through in life are mostly internal.
But you can affect the box. So like somebody's got soggy ass like boxes covered in snow and slime. You can dust it off. Like so you want the box to be filled with beautiful light and warmth, and they're cold and damp. Like you dry them off.
I don't think you can ever open up somebody else's box, though. They always have to be the first person to open the latch. They always have to internally open that door first. And I don't think it matters what anybody externally does.
I don't agree. I think that that's like kind of like a therapist is somebody who externally helps you do it internally. You do
There's a
have
lot of
to.
people. There's a lot of people who go to therapy. They go to therapy and then they just don't open up, and they get nothing out of it because they're not
That's
willing to
true.
open the door.
That is true.
Like
That
if you
is
go
true.
to a therapist and you're already willing to put yourself out there and maybe work through something, you've already opened the door, even before you get to the therapist.
I I don't know how to argue with you, but I don't agree. I think that
Hey, fair enough.
I think those people that don't know how to open up to the therapist, the fact that they're going to therapy increases their chances.
I would just circle back around to though that they're willing to if they're willing to go or they're being forced to go or whatever the case is, it's always they're the one who has to open the door first.
Yeah, but their chances of opening it, I'm saying, they go up.
Yeah. Well, that I don't think there's like much that we can push each other on here.
Yeah.
It's got like it's like a kind of like a first principles view of the world. And if you like say like 2 weeks from now, if you have a different way of presenting your argument, you're more than welcome to DM me. because because I'm not convinced at the moment, but if you
I don't
you
think
know you
it's
came up
I
with a
don't think
better
it's possible
argument.
to convince you. I think that it's
Okay,
just
fair enough.
a fundamental disagreement on. I don't think that we exist in a vacuum. I don't think that we have like a mind on an island raised by wolves. Like the only reason that we are able to think is because we're connected to other people. Like our parents teach us how to language, and that's like big part of like how your brain even works. If you don't learn that, you can't even think. And I think that it doesn't just come from you, it from nothing. It comes from everything impact like the person that opens the door because stuff on the outside, it doesn't have to be direct, but things happen cumulatively, or certain things happened that put them in a place where they can open the door.
Okay. I mean, but if if that's the way you view it, then I like you should pursue what you believe. I would not argue against that. Like we might not necessarily agree on some first principle views of the world, but if that's your value system or how you use your mental framework of the universe
Yeah.
and you want to pursue that, like you should do that.
Yeah. I'm not used to people just actually agreeing to disagree. That's
Well,
what.
that's the difference between me and YouTube drama
Yeah.
people that exist to argue about stuff is I just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And also like uh yeah, I don't know. I just don't. I'm not going to argue with somebody for the sake of arguing it. Like, I don't know. We're just chilling. You're my friend.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to just argue for kind of no reason. And it's a different like. I think there's some people have this view of the world that everything is purely logical. Like like I've already expressed the idea is that like I have respect for people that act on their value systems in the world, even if it's not in accordance with how I view mine.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of that's a part of how I view the world and how I view people.
I
And
agree
so
with that very strongly. Okay.
that's why I brought up the example earlier of Che Guevara and Ayn Rand. Is I've read a lot of stuff about both of them, and they're just totally different people in what they believe.
Oh,
But
I didn't pick up on Che Guevara. I only heard Ayn Rand. Now
okay,
I
yeah.
understand why you said that those are like radical, because Ayn Rand I don't visualize. Like I'm just thinking of a person writing books, but like then Che Guevara, now you're throwing more. Like now the dichotomy is like, I get it, whatever. Anyway.
Also, Che Guevara is a mass murderer, and Ayn Rand was an absolute cunt. So I'm not saying that like I respect them.
Yeah, but
in their actions of how but like I kind of respect that they believed in something. They did it.
I respect Ayn Rand more because she was a mass murderer. Like I just don't. I don't.
I'm not a fan of mass murderers.
Yeah.
Not a fan of that. But she was also later in her life, especially after Atlas Shrugged came out, she's basically a cult leader, and she was just a total cunt. So
is that why people love that fucking book so much?
I don't know. I think The Fountainhead is pretty cool, but Atlas Shrugged is not great.
The way people talk about that fucking book sounds like they're in a cult.
Yeah, and she was basically a cult leader later in her life.
Oh, I should look into
that. They jokingly referred to themselves as the Collective, which is funny because of how anti-collectivism she is. Like her entire ideology is the idea that like you shouldn't use violence. And when she found out that the person she was sleeping with, like her boyfriend that she was sleeping with, despite the fact that she was married, that her boyfriend was sleeping with a third person, even though that guy was married, she went and slapped him in the face. So she didn't even live according to her own principles. Like she's just a cunt. Fountainhead's pretty good though.
Yeah. Maybe I'll read it if it's on audiobook, but I can only read things now if they are in Twitter format.
Got that Twitter brain. It's got to be 240 characters or less.
Yeah, or I gotta have it served to me. Like, so they should make an app that it looks and scrolls just like Twitter, except it just feeds you the words to a book. So
I think there's some automated Twitter accounts that actually they'll take quotes from books and then they're automated, so they'll paragraph after paragraph of the like an entire book. I think there's a couple of those out there.
I've seen the opposite where people's Twitter accounts are made into a book. Like I went to someone's house and they had some guy who was like some notorious shit poster, and they had a book that was filled with all of his shit posts. I kind of like it, but yeah, you've told me to make something like that.
Yeah, some of the stuff that you've posted, they've cracked me up. And I've always told you that you should write a book of your kind of random poetic thoughts.
Okay, well, before we go, I'll read like a couple.
Like Frank Happened was a banger.
The Frank Happened, that was a good.
Actually, wait, I think I might have one to pull up. That's a favorite.
She likes Final Fantasy, so now I'm a choka bitch.
Boobs are green. Boobs are green is always a classic.
Boobs are green. Okay.
Oh, here's one of my all-time favorites of yours is, let me check with your tiny lipstick hole and listen for little chirp words and interpret them into a poem and decipher the riddle and communicate with you, you fucking retard. That's a favorite.
That one is good, yeah. Oh, shit. So, dude, I've just said boobs agree to the chat. The reason that happened was because I, for some reason, had written boobs are green into the text box into the Twitch chat. And then something else came up, and I forgot that I wrote that, and then I typed out a completely rational response to something somebody said on stream. And then It just started with boobs are green, and it was like, yeah,
I think I've done that in your one or two of your live streams where I just hop in quick and I type boobs are green. And then,
yeah, dope.
Yeah.
I noticed that a couple times. Okay.
Yep.
I'll talk to you whenever.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yep.
Bye. All right. If only. If only I could disagree with people so easily. That was way too easy. It made me uncomfortable. It's so easy to disagree with him. It's so easy to disagree with him. Why did people make it so hard? Have a great night. Tomorrow, I'm going to be moderating a debate. It's very different. A debate between Elderdrazi and Counterpoints about polyamory. So, also on Monday at 4 p.m. EST, I'm going to be talking to Brittany Simon about the Mr. Girl letter. Because apparently her Discord is now talking about it too. Everybody's really interested in it. Okay. Have a good night, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.